Hello everybody, James here. So this is going to be a slight departure from me because I'm just going to be reporting the news and not like adding anything to it, like my comments or thoughts or anything, because basically it would be wholly inappropriate for me to do so. So I've just collated a load of articles over the last couple of days and social media posts and everything to get a full picture and a full story of what's going on, because I was a bit confused with what was actually happening and in what order everything had happened. But now I've sorted everything out, and now I present the facts, apparent facts, to you now. So, and I've talked to neither of these people, but the names of Masha Slamovich and a wrestler called Akira have been circulating on wrestling news websites, social media the last couple of days, and not for the happiest of reasons, of course. So over the last couple of days, there's been some disturbing allegations being levelled at former TNA knockout champion Masha Slamovich. Now, normally when these kinds of social media accusations start flying, there's the initial story, then your denials and your back and forths, and it sort of goes over days and weeks of speculation and whatnot. It all drags on, denials and whatnot. So eventually, then the wrestling promotion might get involved, and then some months later, a conclusion may or may not be reached. But not in this case. This has actually gone from beginning to end, 2 days. So let's skip to Sports Illustrated. So this was an exclusive story that they ran on the 23rd of September. It's 25th of September as I record this. So, former TNA Knockouts World Champion Masha Slamovich has been accused of domestic violence by her former partner, independent wrestler Akira. The allegation surfaced on Tuesday morning when a friend of Akira's took to social media to share dozens of screenshots and images portraying alleged conversations between Slamovich, real name Anna Khozina, and Akira Alexander Atkinson. So we're going to talk about this in a minute. So screenshots and photos, but we're going to go down. TNA reached out to were reached out by Sports Illustrated regarding the allegations against Slamovich on Tuesday night, and a spokesperson for the organisation replied with the following statement: "We take any allegations like this very seriously and have begun an internal investigation." Slamovich did not respond to a request for comment at this point, but she does later, which we'll get to at the end of this video. This is also Akira's version of events, what he also posted on social media on the 23rd. We'll talk about that in a short while as well. But once again, that's the end of that. Okay, let's get to some of the original screenshots that Bam/Jasmine has posted. And once again, everything that we've seen beyond has sort of suggested that, yes, these are real. We don't absolutely know. They've not been independently verified, I don't think, at this point. But it's seeming that they're real once again, or half confirmed really by what Masha said, but once again we'll get to that. Here's the important bit. You hit me, you're wrong. You cursed at me, this is Masha, that's why you got hit. Again, cool to see you claim intelligence and can't see metaphor. You hit me, you're wrong. And then there are others as well. You can see in the bottom corner as well some of the images that Bam/Jasmine posted as well, alleging domestic abuse, physical abuse. There are a couple more sets of screenshots she posted. There are a lot more as well, actually. We'll just get through what she posted. I care about you. I very clearly tried to not take it out on you, but you just had to keep pushing, and then insisted on instead of backing off, you start provoking me, and guess what? I still already threw them. What's this? And if you broke those, you'd have been more upset later and had to spend more money, and guess what? I still already threw them, etc. Okay, so this all comes from a Dropbox of dozens of screenshots of text messages, once again allegedly between Akira and Masha Slamovich, and these were all screenshotted from Akira's phone, I guess, and also some images as well. That's one of apparently a busted lip, outside and inside, back to the top, a couple of marks on the wrist, under the ear, and a bent pan, which is probably the most terrifying of all the artifacts here. So, things have already been moving. TNA sees the opportunity to essentially suspend her, it seems to be, because she's already been taken off her next major event. I think it's a pay-per-view. I mean, I'll see on this one. But she's also been taken off a lot of independent wrestling shows as well. So this is one such, with Masha Slamovich being pulled from the show. Shayna Baszler has a new opponent for her Prestige Wrestling debut, and that is Shayna Baszler versus Dani Luna, October the 5th in Portland, Oregon. Once again, that's the official thing from Prestige Wrestling, and that's not the only one. There's been a few separate independent wrestling promotions that have already pulled it along with TNA as soon as pretty much these allegations surfaced. And we're going to move on now. So we're going to go to someone called Wraith. Now, Wraith, as best as I can gather, was like their former flatmate or roommate or something, and this person was absolutely in the middle of some of their arguments/fights. So, I realised the only thing I truly need to say is that it wasn't mutual. And if I wanted to, I would post what videos I have of their fights that would go hours on end, waking me up any time from midnight to 3 a.m. It would be hours on hours of her screaming at him, repeating herself over and over, the time she would physically assault him, to immediately asking why he wouldn't just put his hands up or try and stop her. And then when he would try and stop her by either grabbing her wrists or yelling at her to stop, she would, it says would she, but I think she would, then turn around and cry wolf, immediately screaming bloody murder for help, until he would let her go, only for her to go back to hitting him. Talk after talk, total opposite spectrum as far as working things out. But she believed, according to Wraith, that her actions were justified and actually needed to help turn Akira into whatever image suited her fancy that month. If it wasn't his gear, it was his body shape. If it wasn't his body shape, it was his moveset. If it wasn't the moves, it was the companies he worked for. If it wasn't the companies he worked for, then it was the matches he was taking on. So essentially, arguing over anything is what the allegation is from Wraith here. First year, I actually told him I needed to leave and go home to take care of my mum. Her health started deteriorating, etc. Masha's only reason for wanting me to stay was because she didn't want you to have to pay more for rent, and who was going to take care of the dog and cook for us. And then would also guilt-trip me about staying, reminding me how she had helped me out with rent months prior. Wraith also says she only cares about herself. Longer I stayed there, you know, you get the picture. He eventually left and no real regrets about going public with it or leaving the situation. Now, this is what Akira has said, going under the name Psycho Samurai. This is also on social media, so I'm going to have one quick drink. Welcome to this. He's talking about things about his gender and the confusion I was feeling and turning on me, and was turned on me. So this is something apparently he confided into Masha that eventually became sort of what he alleges a stick to beat him with. He says that he tried to off himself 3 times during the relationship, because he was trying to build a life with someone that was torn apart, and I became nothing to that person. It was like a withdrawal every time I went to hospital. That person I put on a pedestal was gone. It didn't matter. And other allegations, spiraling alone in Japan, many things I said in confidence turned and used against me, as I said before. I'm not angry, I'm not sad, not anymore, I'm apathetic, I've moved on, and there's still bitterness in my stomach. I don't let it guide me. I've grown up as a person and a wrestler. I've grown up mentally, physically, and spiritually. I'm still figuring things out and have nothing to say to that person. I adored them. I still feel phantom pains in my heart every time I see the photos. So they broke up, I guess, some point earlier than the last couple of days. They're a part of my life and my history. I don't get to where I am now, a mature and thoughtful person with a healthy dose of CTE without the experiences I went through and the isolation I experienced in a foreign country, but it is what it is. Whatever happens, happens. He also says, and this is one of the most telling things, I'm going to switch cameras. It's one of the most telling things, because Doug Mallow, who was the guy who stopped Raja Jackson from continually assaulting Psycho Stu, was that he didn't care about going public with what he knew and doing the right thing. And when I say he didn't care, you know, I don't care if I don't get any more bookings because I've gone public with these allegations. Which apparently even in 2025, it seems that the people supposedly trying to do the right thing, or allegedly the victim in these cases, could still be the ones getting blackballed. So anyway, I love wrestling. I love the life and people it brought into my life. Even her being Masha. But it's not a drug for me. If this makes it impossible to hire me or anything, so be it. I'll move on, because wrestling isn't everything to me. I'm thankful it showed me the world and the man I have to be for myself. I'm just looking for my happy ending. And then here's the, I guess, the most interesting portion of this. And once again, I was saying, this has all happened very quickly. I'm not saying a complete resolution. But here is Masha Slamovich's response. Up until the beginning of this year, I was in a toxic and mutually destructive relationship. We hurt each other deeply and in private moments failed to treat each other with the consideration and respect we both deserve. I take responsibility for my actions and I am sorry, embarrassed and ashamed of the role I played in our relationship and the way things turned out. In the time since, I've sought help to reflect on this time and deal with conflict in more mature, healthier and sustainable ways. I apologise to those that I let down, including my former partner. I hope he is able to heal. This will be my only statement on the matter. So, there you go. It's sort of quite interesting because this is actually quite rare that someone would basically... I mean, kind of says like mutually destructive, where the two other people we've heard from, the ex-partner and I guess their friend and maybe another person as well. In fact, two mutual friends have put all the blame on Masha. But she's saying it's mutual, but then all of a sudden takes responsibility for her actions and she is sorry. So it would be interesting to see if... I hate to say it'd be interesting to see if this affects Akira's bookings, which is just a weird thing to say once again, but it may well do even in this day and age. But whether Masha Slamovich is going to be sort of welcomed back into any major wrestling promotion, because once again, she was TNA Knockouts champion, former TNA Knockouts champion. She was getting involved in WWE and NXT as part of the talent switch going on. But that's pretty much it, really. I just wanted to get the full story out there as I understand it from reading all these articles and these social media posts that have all happened in the last couple of days. So that is the story, Masha Slamovich and Akira, and the fact that she's been pulled from basically every booking over these allegations. So once again, thank you for watching. I will see you on the next video.